Hello everybody, and today we are doing my 500 subscriber Q&A. So a while back, it might actually be already a month or something like that, I hit 500 subscribers for the very first time. Very happy with that. I've been on BookTube for like over 6 years, so I'm definitely not somebody who knows how to exploit the algorithm and get like the subscribers to my channel, but it's fine. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but it is nice to finally hit one of those milestones because it definitely gives you a little bit of a boost, when it comes to creativity and motivation for a while. Now, it has jumped under 500 somewhere last week, but we're back over 500, so I'm hoping that when this video comes out we are also there, because otherwise it looks a little bit silly to have a 500 subscriber Q&A when the number is actually saying that I'm not there yet. But I can promise you I was there, okay? But so yeah, I want to first and foremost massively thank all of you guys who have watched even just one of my videos, but especially those of you who watch regularly or every single one of them, who comment. I love comments. Comments is my favorite thing of being on this platform. So very thankful to all of you guys, and hopefully I can keep on creating content that you guys want to be consuming and that you guys want to be coming back for. But so I have asked you guys over on a few platforms if you have any questions, so we'll go through that. I don't have a ton of them, which has also always been kind of like my worry when it comes to these types of videos, like what if you don't get enough questions. But I actually think it's fine. The amount of questions that I got, it's not too many, it's not too little, and that means that this video is not going to be like an hour long, or it's going to be like so shallow or surface level that it won't be interesting. So I think I can kind of expand on the questions well enough because of the amount I got. Alright, so the first question is coming from Kitty. She also has a BookTube channel, which I will link in the description down below. So her first question was, if you ignore cost, flight duration and safety concerns, what is the one place in the world you most want to visit? There are two places that now come to mind. Like one is the answer that I would have given you like 99% of the times if you would ask me this question, this is the answer, but a new place recently got added to this. So the one place is Japan. I really want to go to Japan. Like the one place is actually Cambodia, but I'm going there in 2 weeks' time, so let me not mention that one because I'm already going there. But so Japan is the next one on the list. Japan is a country that I really want to go to. I think the country looks gorgeous, the food is amazing, the landscape is wonderful. I would prefer to go in the fall season because I just prefer the sort of like fall aesthetic to Japan rather than the spring blossom season, for example. And I just love the sort of like slow culture that is often portrayed, even though I know that, for example, the workplace environment in Japan is very much the opposite of that. It's very much sort of like high speed, high productivity, high demands, and so that's this sort of vision of the slow Japan, the minimalist Japan is definitely sort of like clashing with some of the downsides of the work culture there. But it is definitely a country that I want to visit and experience firsthand. But then recently another one that kind of got added to the sort of like priority list, let's say, and that is Patagonia. So that would be Argentina and Chile. And that is mainly to do with physical constraints because I am a disabled person, so I have a muscular dystrophy, and while I am not in the prime of my life, I'm not in the best physical shape of my life. I used to be in my best physical shape, so my best physical shape is already behind me and it ain't coming back. So I'm like, yes, this is a place that I need to do soonish, because this is a place that, like, the reason why I would want to go there is to do hikes, to explore in those mountains and go and see all those things. And for that you need somewhat of a decent physical shape in order to be able to do that, or be able to do what I want to be doing there. And so, you know, it is now or never almost. It is something that needs to be happening within the first few years or something like that, because who knows like where my health is going to go in future. So it is something that I need to prioritize in that regards. But so you'll see, no, battery of my light just went out, but you'll see that like my main focus is landscapes. I mainly like going to places because of the landscapes. I love the food and the culture definitely, and I think that for both of these destinations there is definitely a big cultural aspect as well, but the main attraction to me, or the main thing that draws me to places, is like the scenery, is landscapes. Next up we have a few questions. I'll kind of intermix them if they're from the same person. So next up we have a question from Tufty. He asked, start reading a new series or continue an existing series? Which do you prefer to do? Difficult one, because there is a huge sort of like joy in starting a new series and exploring a new story, new world, new characters. And so I think that I tend to gravitate more towards starting series, so probably there is something in there in to say that that is actually what I prefer. But there's a satisfaction in continuing series in the sense of, you know, like, as long, if you're just starting, you're just adding to that sort of like mental load of what you're currently reading, you know, like this is a series you've got ongoing, it's part of that mental backpack of your TBR for as long as you are going through that series. And, you know, continuing can be very satisfying in that sense, because you're making progress, you are making sure that these series are, you know, like, not just like left unfinished forever. But especially with continuing, there is this familiarity with the characters that, depending on how well you get along with them, can feel really like coming home, can feel very satisfactory. But that experience, I feel, doesn't always happen, and especially with this sort of like existence of the middle book syndrome, which definitely exists, there is this sort of like anxiety or trepidation about continuing a series, of being like, will it be as good as the first book? Will I enjoy the direction that these characters and this story takes within the second book? So I feel like it is always a little bit I always enter a sequel with a little bit more trepidation, whereas I enter a first book in a series with excitement. So I guess starting new series is the real answer, is what I prefer doing. So from Jeroen from Walking with Books, so he also has a YouTube channel, so I'll also link his. If you don't like a book by an author and they have more books or series other than the one you didn't like, do they get another chance? And if so, after how many chances do you decide they aren't for you? Depends. First of all, on how bad my first experience with them is. If I really dislike the writing style, then it's going to be difficult for me to give them another chance. Even if I hear that the other book has a very different writing style, there's going to be a lot of resistance to trying out something else by that author if I really struggled with it, you know. If I had like super high hopes and my high hopes were dashed because I didn't enjoy it all that much, then there is still the possibility to go into another book by this author, especially if the concept of the other book sounds really interesting. I'll just go in with a lot more trepidation, but that is actually potentially going to favor the experience, because then the book might pleasantly surprise me, whereas the first book might have suffered from the fact that I was like expecting too much out of it. So it really depends. I don't think that I'll like automatically rule an author out just because I didn't have a good experience the first time around, but it'll be like more difficult to overcome. I think that there definitely will need to be like more excitement coming from the world in general or people around me before I'll make that decision. And I think the main problem here is just there is just so many things that you want to read that once you have read an author's work and you didn't get along with it, it's just more difficult to decide to give another book by that author some of your precious reading time. Like, it's different when I've bought like multiple of their books beforehand, and then like I read one of them, decided I didn't like it, but I already have the other one lying around, and sure, I would still give it that second chance. But if then I have to decide to like either invest money in it or just like time, that is like more difficult of a choice and might potentially mean that it might not happen in reality. But mainly because of those reasons, I wouldn't automatically rule them out, but it would be more of a sort of case of like, you know, you're spoiled for choices nowadays when it comes to releases, and so if you've already been burned by an author once, it's just less likely that I'm gonna focus on them, you know. Let's move back to a kitty question. So, slow descent into madness. How many cats is too many cats? I think for this apartment, I would say like 3 would be the maximum I think I would have here. But I also don't think I would ever have 3 here. I think it will always be 2. And the problem, let's just think of it in terms of the mathematics that they tell you. They tell you you should have 1 litter box more than the amount of cats that you have. When I had 2 cats, I had 2 litter boxes. I don't have a place for a 3rd litter box unless I'm gonna place the 3rd litter box like in this room or in the living room, and I don't think it's really enjoyable to have the litter box anywhere where you're doing a regular activity. Like if I'm filming and editing, I don't want to have a cat come in here and you know, like start doing their business in the middle of my living room. I don't want to be smelling their pee, you know, like. So I think that is the main thing. If you have the space for the litter boxes, then you can go for more cats. But I think 2 is definitely more than enough, and I will definitely say that with Faith and Buffy, they are very attached cats, so 2 definitely feels like enough, you know. Like with 2, it was also many times in which I'm like, just leave me alone for a little bit, you know. I just want to sit here and not have a cat on me. And sometimes they would just like switch places the entire time, and you would just like constantly have a cat attached to you. And while that is a good thing most of the time, like when it's happening like the entire time, sometimes you're just like, just give me some of my alone private time, okay? Moving back to a Tufty question. So I'll answer 2 of his now, because one of these is like a really small one. So this is like, what's your favorite cooked fruit? So this is because I don't like warm fruit, but I think my favorite warm fruit, it depends, like how we see the warm fruit, of course. Like, I like grilled pineapple, for example. Not on a pizza, don't worry. But I do like grilled pineapple. And if it is in like a cake or something like that, I also like, for example, the orange flavor. But it isn't like your have like full orange slices in there that the way you would have for like an apple cake. So I feel like it doesn't really count, you know, because it isn't like a full warm orange slice that you're eating. It's just the flavor of orange and something warm. So I guess pizza. I guess pineapple would be the answer. Pineapple is a thing that leaves that kind of has the same structure warm as it does cold, and that's the big problem with warm fruit, is the structure. Secondly, channel retrospective and current channel goals. Any favorite episodes that spring to mind? So, channel retrospective. I think my channel has been a very classic channel for most of the time. I've just been doing the regular sort of like TBRs and wrap-ups and occasionally like reviews and stuff like that. I haven't really done much outside of the normal sort of content or outside of the classic content, and I've really been enjoying every book all at once for that reason, for that being like a project that kind of gets me motivated about producing content and gets me motivated about my reading. And so I need to find something like that when we go back to like when this project is over. I need to find something else that's going to motivate me the way that this project has been motivating, that's going to excite me about my content the way that this project has been doing. A video that I really enjoyed is the how to actually read the books that are on your TBR video, and not just for the video itself and how much that closely links to me and my channel, because I've gone through multiple of these zero TBR projects on here, but also I just love whenever I get a comment on that nowadays, because it's always like people trying to reduce their TBRs, and I love like that people find that video through their goal, through our shared goals and aspirations, and like if they find tips in there that they enjoyed. Like I love that video, and I love the fact that, you know, there are people still finding this video nowadays. Like I still had a comment on it earlier this week, for example. And something that I would potentially want to do more of in future is the sort of like spoiler recap videos in which I talk about the full content of a book, rather than, you know, like doing the spoiler-free version of talking about a book, because there are just some things that you want to talk about, when, especially when it comes to a sequel, that then like, because of avoiding spoilers, there's so much you cannot talk about. And with these recap videos, you can really go into all of it. And I am somebody who would really benefit from having these types of videos when going into a sequel and stuff like that, not having to reread the entire book, but having a recap video like that. So I think it's something that I could use, and therefore it seems like a good content to have. What I also want to do, what I put out there already but didn't really stuck with, is the idea of like doing unboxings with immediate reviews. I am hoping, very light hope, but I'm hoping to switch to another subscription at some point in time. There are 2 upcoming subscriptions that I have an eye out for, and that I'm on a wish list for. I just hope, like on a wait list for, I just hope I get into them whenever they are like signing up. And then I would want to switch to those and kind of leave my Illumicrate behind to just have a book here or there from it, because I think the conclusion is that the Illumicrate one isn't really working for me in terms of the books that they choose. But I do like that concept of you know, like doing the unboxings for them, reading the book immediately and giving a review for it. And if I get back to zero TBR, I'll also be able to do that, rather than what I've been doing now, which is that I was still like forgetting about these in my scheduling all of the time, and so I wasn't reading them as quickly as I had intended to. So I guess that those are some of the future goals. More recap videos, so spending more time with the books that I'm reading in order to be able to make recap videos. Hopefully a new project along the lines of Every Book All at Once, and more of these sort of like subscription and review videos at the same time. So I'll have to go and look for it, because I also asked a question over on YouTube, and I'm sure that Kitty asked a question over there as well. But I think I'll go through the Tufty question to another Tufty question first, because I have that here on screen right now. So this is an easy one. Have you ever incurred the wrath of a segment of fandom? No, I have not. But it's also like, as I indicated, I don't work the algorithm at all, so I don't think that many people find my videos to begin with, but I also don't think I put many controversial opinions out there, except for, I guess, with my current reading of Wind and Truth, I am very vocal about my hatred for Dalinar, so it would not have surprised me if I would have attracted some heavy Dalinar fans, but it seems like they're either not there, or they have not found my videos. And I think the one fandom that I may be upset once is like, there's one video that I once did, I was tagged in it, which was like the X-Files reading tag video, and I hadn't seen the X-Files, and I think that is why somebody disliked that video. Okay, yeah. So Kitty asks, what will be the first bookish thing you'll do when you reach 0 TBR again? Good question. I have not considered this. What I won't do is, last time when I reached 0 TBR, I allowed myself a buying spree. It was a limited buying spree. I did have like a certain budget that I built up, and so I used that budget, and so I bought 17 books with it. And in principle, that isn't like, whoa, what a massive number, like you really like set yourself back with that, but it is multiple months worth of work, and some of those books definitely lingered for months, if not close to a year, and so I very immediately got into the sort of like pattern of having books be on my TBR for like close to the 1 year deadline. And if I wouldn't have set that 1 year deadline, maybe some of those books would have lingered even longer than that. And so I definitely want to do that. I want to have like my reading choices and my book buying choices be the books that I'm just going to immediately tackle. And so I will definitely not be going on a buying spree, and because I think that there are first of all already 4 books on my shelves which are for after every book all at once. I will also be getting some books for Christmas most likely. I will be getting the new Brandon Sanderson in December, and I'm not counting that as part of every book all at once. So there are some books outside of every book all at once that will be on my TBR, even though I will have the TBR 0. So technically I guess I will only really consider it TBR 0 once I'm done with all of those books, but I also don't plan to, for example, immediately like consider that as every book all at once, like season 2 or anything like that. I won't like be like, you cannot buy anything else now, you have to read those, finish those, and then you can consider it a 0 TBR. I think I'll kind of consider that as like books that I'm re-hauling, even though they're already on here, and then I'll go into sort of like smaller sets of like, these are the 5 books I'm going to be tackling next, and some of those will be books that I have already at that point in time, so these 4 books plus whatever comes in December. But I'll also like allow a library book or another new book, for example. I think my goal will be to kind of have all of the ones that do make it into 2025 with me done before August, you know, like no like strict pressure on myself to tackle those before I can pick up anything else, but I do want to make sure that, you know, like they're leaving my shelves pretty quickly still. Another Tufty question: how many books by one author will you read before you consider yourself a fangirl and haul everything? So I'm not somebody who will haul everything by an author at once ever, and I think the Michael Crichton story also definitely showed me why I shouldn't do that at all. So with Michael Crichton, the first book I read by him was Jurassic Park. Absolutely loved it. The second book I read by him was The Lost World. Absolutely loved it. Read a few of his other books at that point in time from the library, including Next, I think, which was a success. And I also read Congo, which I didn't like all that much. And so and Dragon Teeth I also read, which I didn't like. So then I started to have more mixed experiences with his books, and so I've had so many mixed or bad experiences with some of his backlists that I now also know, like, you know, there are always a potential for there to be a ton in that backlist that you don't actually enjoy. So I won't, like at this point in time, I'm not really interested in picking up any more Michael Crichton. I should not have picked up this book. The only reason I did was because it was €1, and now for some reason I feel obliged to finish this book even though I have zero interest in it. But so I think that the answer is going to be that I'll never fully haul their entire backlist, but I feel like if I've read two of their books and really enjoyed it, if I read two of their books and I really love them, it means I need to be picking up more of their stuff, but I'll probably be doing it like one at a time, and I'll tell you that experience tells me that the rate of that is going to be super slow. I don't tend to prioritize getting to books by authors that I've already loved and enjoyed. I tend to be reading new authors most of the time, and it would probably be good to be reading more backlog from authors that I've previously enjoyed. It's just something that my brain isn't thinking about, it seems like. It's always like looking towards the new stuff and not really going back to the old stuff. But it would be a nice experience. So I have the idea of like tackling some authors that I haven't read before and reading a few of their books. Though I will say my experience with My Year of Rest and Relaxation, which I originally always wanted Atasha Mosfeq to be an author for which I was going to do that, but I really hate My Year of Rest and Relaxation so far, so that also makes me go like, oh, if I'm going to do a vlog like that and I have the same sort of experience, will I even pick up more than just the one book by this author? Maybe it should be like trying out books by new authors and seeing if I can make it to like 3 books, you know, like if I don't make it through the first book, it means this author is like a no-go for me. If I make it past the first book into the second book, then, you know, like this is an interesting author for me to try out, but it's a mixed bag. If I make it to 3 of their books, it means like, yes, this is a new potential favorite author, or at least this is a new author to keep an eye out for, or something like that. Next question, from Kitty again, how many books is too many books? I think this is very personal, so definitely like what is too many books for me definitely doesn't have to be too many books for you, for example, you know? Like before I did my first Zero TBR project, I thought that like 30 would be like the new sort of like maximum number, because then it would start to feel overwhelming. But I feel like it already feels somewhat overwhelming when it's like 15 books, you know? So I think we're gonna try with way less for the time being now. So the answer is I don't really know yet what too many books is. It's a case of trial and error. And so maybe, because I know that you're also interested in potentially going for a Zero TBR, so maybe when you reach it, try and start off with a short amount and see if you like that small amount, and then you can potentially up it to a higher amount, rather than what I did, where I think like 2 months or like 3 months maybe after my first Zero TBR, I was already to that 30, and it was already starting to feel like I had to tackle it again in order to be able to get to the feeling that I wanted to have when it came to my TBR. And who knows, maybe I'll never have that feeling. Maybe that is the conclusion. Maybe the conclusion will be like, no matter how low the TBR is, I'll never have that feeling like I can finally pick up whatever I want, whenever I want to, without having this sort of like guilty feeling about the other books. But yeah, I guess we'll have to find out after I reach Zero TBR again. The idea is to kind of haul by the 5 at this point in time. Moving to the final question of Tufty. Do you count an omnibus edition, so a complete trilogy, as separate books, or just a one book on your TBR? I don't like omnibus editions, so I won't have any omnibus editions anymore, but if I were to have an omnibus edition, I'll definitely count them as 3 separate books, okay? I need the boost to my productivity or to my sense of accomplishments of being like, I finished the book, even though it's only like a third of an omnibus. And then the final question of Kitty. What book would you start right now if you weren't doing every book all at once? This is actually a difficult question, because I am very much trained right now to try to avoid those, to try to avoid that, you know, like to try to avoid having a book call out to me and being like, no, let's, you know, like let's not spend too much time on that, because no, you cannot start this book now because you have all of these other things to do. One answer would be the new Calcate, so the 6th book in Kingstar Tidings, right? 6th, I think, dropped in my my mailbox a few weeks ago, so it technically should have been part of every book all at once. But I decided not to because I listened to the audiobooks for them, and the audiobook isn't out yet. The audiobook will come out in December. So I decided to not include it in every book all at once, because it's like it's just too much. It's just too daunting. We're not gonna make the 1st of January deadline if I allow it in here. So that, I guess, could be one that I would start right now, if possible. And I feel like I'm probably overlooking something like completely, because there's definitely, when I go to bookstores or when I hear books that people are talking about right now, I'm always like, ooh, yes, I want to try that. Ooh, yes, I want to give that a go. But I just don't let them linger in my mind. I guess one of them, for example, would also be Butter, which is a Japanese translated book which came out at the beginning of the year, which I really, really wanted to get to this year, which I won't because it would add to this project. But I don't think that there's this one thing that is called out to me so strongly that that I'm resenting this project at this point in time, or that I could really say, like, if I get to pick anything up right now, then I can finally get to this one particular thing, you know? So I don't think that I have one to answer at this point in time. But actually what I've also just been thinking about when I was talking about the Calcade book is that on the one hand, it's a bit sad that I'm excluding books from this project that I'll get in December, because I know I won't get around to everything on here otherwise, when I've got stuff on here that I'm really struggling through. So I'm really, really debating whether I'm going to unhaul a few of these. The problem with 2 of them, the problem is just that they're Illumicrate books. They were really expensive, and of course I can sell them, but I also feel like I want to give them a fair shot for my reviews of them, because now I cannot say why they don't work for me, except for the fact that I have no interest in them. Which sounds like a really stupid thing to say in a review. Like, it's not helpful. It doesn't help anybody to determine whether this would be a book for them or not, when I cannot figure out why they don't work for me, for example. Timeline, Michael Crichton, could completely stop it. My Year of Rest and Relaxation, 40 pages still to go, but I could absolutely put it down right now and not care about the fact that I'll never know what happens in this book towards the end, or whether it was worth it. So those are 4 books on my 13 book TBR at the moment that I could absolutely stop right now. And the only sort of regrets I would have about that would just be, first of all, I wouldn't like the way I would have to rework my spreadsheet to make it appear as if I finished them, when I've actually DNF'd them, but so that their page count, isn't taken into account for what I should still be achieving, So first of all, I don't like that, but secondly, I don't like the fact that I wouldn't be able to give people an actual accounting of why these books don't work for me. But is it worth working my way through them just to be able to tell people why they don't work for me? That also sounds crazy, right? So maybe that should be my conclusion. Maybe my conclusion of this video should be to reduce those 4 books from the project right now. But I don't know. It's, at the beginning of this year, do you remember what I said? 2024 would be the year of the DNF. So let's do it. Yeah, I paid €1 for both of these, so €2. I've struggled with both of these so much it ain't worth it. These ones, they pay me. So, Phantom Folk by Eliza Chan, I tried the audiobook originally, got through like 70 pages or so like that, I wasn't able to pay attention to it at all, and then I restarted it physically. I am like 124 pages in and I still have zero interest in them. Do I know why? No. Do I care about any of these characters? No, and that's probably the reason. And then we have A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. Heard really bad things before starting it, tried the audio, isn't working for me, have contemplated whether I should try it physically, but you know, like the Phantom Folk story told me that that wasn't necessarily going to change anything, and I just find this relationship very annoying. This is also a book that I actually was going to skip, and then it turned out that I had forgotten to skip it. So it's a book that I didn't have an interest in to begin with. It has a murder mystery plot, though I will say that in the end it seems like they're not really all that interested in solving the murder mystery of it. But you know, I cannot tell either one of these characters apart. There's like an expedition that they go on, all the expedition members, I keep on forgetting who they are. And then there's this sort of like hate to probably love between two characters. But our main character, Lorelai, who we're reading from, like really like despises this other person for no reason. Or like, you kind of know the reason, but it's more like this person represents the people that she hates rather than her actually disliking this character in and of itself. It seems more like she is very petty, very grudgy, resentful, doesn't want to give this person an opportunity, and so whatever this person says or does, it will be the wrong thing, and so it seems just sort of like really petty and unfounded, and so, you know, this doesn't really satisfy me as a reader. As a reader, I'm just like, get over yourself and like stop judging this person for the way that the entire world treats you, and just like, you know, treat this person in a way you would want to be treated, rather than treating them the way that people have been treating you, even though she is doing nothing in her turn that's like works against you. She's not treating you like crap. She's not treating you like all of those other people have been treating you. And maybe there's something in the past that I've just overlooked here, because as I said, everything in this book goes in one ear out the other. But it just seems like there's no foundation for this hatred between them, except for the hatred that she feels towards the entire world and everybody in it. But so yeah. Yes, I am DNFing all of these. I feel good about this decision now. I guess I will just leave them aside until I'm back from my holidays, and then I can make the opposite decision if I feel like it. But I feel like in the past, when I've made a decision like this and put like the pile of books to the side, by the time that I like revisit them at a later point to be like, am I still okay with getting rid of them, I have made the emotional distance from them at that time, and so I'm more easily able to get rid of them. So yes, I think that will happen with these ones. It means 4 less for the project. Happy with that. Let me go and adapt my Excel sheet. But so yeah, that is my 500 subscriber Q&A. As indicated in the beginning, thank you so much to everybody who watched my content, has watched my content, who's seeing this as the first way into my content. I'm just so happy to have had you guys along for the journey, even if you've just been a part of it for a very short period. Like, as I said, like a channel like mine that's been around forever and has only now reached the 500 subscriber goal, I do have to live off of other things in order for me to continue, you know, like I have to get my motivation out of other things than the subscriber count. But it's always nice to have people around to comment on your video, because that is the thing that definitely motivates me the most. The thing that I love doing the most is just like checking the studio app after I've published a video to see if anybody's commented, so that I can comment back. So if you are somebody who doesn't comment, don't feel bad about that neither, but if you are a commenter, then this is greatly appreciated, and know that I do really appreciate every single comment that I get. But so yeah, with that I'm gonna end off this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you guys for the next one. And maybe in the comments let me know if there's any particular type of video that you would like to see from me in the future, and then maybe I can make something happen there. But so yeah, bye!